That's a very, very significant sign that unfaithfulness is going on. And I remember when I
Well,
used to look at
it
African
happens. It
movies.
happens on both sides because the example I was showing not too long ago when I said I saw clips of these guys on their phone and they get a, I mean, they're with their women, they get a call
Hmm.
and they answer and then they say, "Excuse me a minute," and they're trying to get out of
Right.
the car and then the woman grab their shoulder and say, "Where
You
you
grab
going
them,
here?"
yeah.
Yeah, so it's both sides. It happens on. Yeah.
So, so both of you all agree that if your significant other have to be answering your phone out of your presence, moving out of your presence to take a call,
It could
that
it could be
both of
it
y'all
could
agree that that is a big sign.
it could be a
No,
sign.
I
It
don't
I
because I guess I don't have the issue or the problem, so I don't think so. Because sometimes if I'm sleeping, I don't want to be disturbed. Take your phone and leave. Mm-hmm.
No, we're not speaking about. We're speaking about. Okay, I don't know what instance
I understand what Greg's saying, but
Greg is
I
referring to,
wouldn't
but let's
No,
say
under
immediately think
normal,
let's
that
say
I'm
way.
talking about
let's
under
let's
normal
let's
circumstances.
let's use a scenario of you're in a car because these clips I saw they're all in cars.
But I
Okay,
think those are joke
so
ones.
so you're in a car and I get a phone call and I say you hear me say hello hello and I look at you quickly. It's about being observant too, you know. It's not just about
Hmm.
yeah, it's about so I look at you quickly and then I say under my breath, listen again. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, and I say, okay, I'm gonna just give me a moment. Something is
Hmm.
wrong there. Something is, but if
Yeah,
you
exactly.
if you get a call and you take the phone and you say, hey, what's happening? Oh, okay, and you speak why can't you speak even if it's let's say a business call you speak to a certain point. This is what I might do, maybe not in every instance. I might put it on speakerphone so that you can at least hear the beginning of the call and then the person say okay, uh, uh, Quint, let's say it's Lorraine our boss, right? Quint, I want to speak to you about something. Then I say okay, then I take it off of speaker, you understand? She should
Hmm.
then understand that what I'm going to speak with my boss is private. You understand?
Right.
But
Right.
if it happens where, as you're saying, uh, Greg, it happens
Yes.
and the person gets the call and they do this quick. It usually happens that way, you know, because guilt chips
Yes.
in. They do this quick look at you and then they say,
Yes.
and their voice drops
Yes.
and then they want to, you see them easing out the car.
Yes.
A lot of the times something fishy might be going on. I'm not saying every instance, and if it happens consistently, then definitely something is going on.
Something is going on. I mean, okay, but just imagine because you and your significant other. Well, as a Christian, I would say wife, but in reality, people ain't waiting to get married. You and your significant other. Just imagine you all in your house talking, having a conversation, normal conversation, and all of a sudden your significant other get a call and they had to excuse themselves to be answering the call, and it's happening more than once.
Yeah,
Something wrong.
yeah.
Something wrong.
Something fishy
You,
might
you,
be
you,
in the
you agree?
making.
Content say you agree?
Not in all cases, man. Sometimes you just
We're not saying in all cases. We never said in
no.
all
But why
cases.
should
We're
you raise
saying
the eyebrows? If my husband gets a call and he moves a vehicle, I should be concerned. What? Talking to a girl? Mm-mm.
no,
I guess you have to
look.
know your
It's
partner,
not
and
just
I'm
that he
confident
moved.
in mine,
It's not
so I
just that
won't
he
have a problem if he does
Hortensia,
move
it's not
away.
just that he moves out of the way. It's the circumstances
You said the
surrounding
look and all kind of
the
thing, and I'm
look, the
trying to
drop,
think,
the
what?
voice. Okay,
I get
you're
all of those. I get all of those. I get all of those ones.
yeah.
Trust me, I've seen people that do that, but I can't. I don't think that's for everybody. Because once you know your partner, we know temptations out there, right? And it's each other's self to be responsible. So if somebody come at you and you know that you're in something committed, you should be able to tell them, get away from here.
Hortensia, you can never know your partner 100%. Maybe
I
you're,
know,
but
but
look, do you know that most of the individuals, especially women who wind up with these diseases and that kind of sexually transmitted
because their
diseases,
partner's
they
wild or
get
they wild
they get it from their partners.
or they wild. And or we can't just blame the one partner.
Yeah,
See,
that's what I'm
I'm trying
saying.
to be,
Yeah, on
yeah, but
both sides. Because you might have a man who believes wholeheartedly in his wife and she's doing some extracurricular, or
I
vice versa.
understand.
You have a woman who, look, me, I I trust, but I don't trust. Look, forgive me, but I'm not going to trust nobody no 100%. I
Lord.
only trust me. I trust
Quint,
myself.
Quint,
Yeah.
Quint. I would say, under normal circumstances, most of the time, the chances are something wrong going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, man. Especially when there's no call for it. And it's been done regularly. She had to excuse herself.
Or he.
Well, most likely something. He too.
Yeah.
He too, yes, he too as well.
Yeah.
Well, most of the time, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Most of the time, chances are something is wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, take care.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Greg, it's inciting. Oh, boy.
Well, look, these are things in everyday life. We've got to be very careful. These are conversations we need to have because sometimes we go through life rather naively, you know. And I think that when people are in quote love, a lot of things get pass over our heads, when it comes to this love thing. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realize that a lot of people, their phone is practically their life,
Yeah.
and so once whoever it is, whether legally, illegally, whether they're authorized to do so, get in control of it, then your life's an open book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I started there, but really and truly, what I wanted to make an intervention on was Burl's point about recalling politicians, and I for one don't like this idea of going out on the streets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, protesting.
Yes, that to me should be a last resort.
I would agree
I
with
think
you.
that-
I would
Yeah,
agree
I think
with
there
you.
are other ways to make your voices known.
But let me ask you this. You say it should be a last resort. So am I understanding you to say something happens, you agitate about it for a given period and you don't see any result, then you say, okay, well, I have no other recourse, I'm going to go out there and protest. That is what I'm understanding you to say?
Well, it depends on the instance. Depends on what is happening. Sometimes something might be so egregious that it brings you out. Okay, but what I'm saying for the real run-of-the-mill things like a recall, what I think should happen, we can talk about the good use of technology now, of things like phones.
Yes.
There is no reason now why you can't have like a referendum on whether the progress of the government or individual MPs. There's no reason that you can't have an official referendum in terms of using the electoral office, because I guess in between elections they have very little work to do. Well, it's mostly routine. There's no reason why midway, and I'm not saying that this should be every year, but something like midway, you have use the technology to have people essentially register how they feel about the progress of a government. There's no reason I can know with technology that can't happen.
But who's going to implement that?
Government, exactly, and that's my point.
That's the problem.
We can't to have a system like that. For one, it requires a clean electoral list and so on, right? And you notice something like that, which you think is so important to free and fair elections and democracy. And you notice nobody is protesting against that. Neither government nor opposition is making any moves to do anything about that. How do you explain that? That is why I say, it's almost like there's no difference between them.
Yeah.
Why something like that can't be implemented, right? And so
But but
based on that.
I think it won't be implemented because it goes back to the question I asked: who's going to implement it? Here's the problem: you're in opposition and you say you're touting it on the street and you're saying we need a referendum, we need to blah 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 blah, and then there's no referendum, but you win the next election. You're in there, you're not performing up to par. Do you think you're going to want a referendum?
Of course not.
Well,
Which
so
is why it should be part of a campaign, whether the manifesto or campaign promise, that as soon as you go in, you're going to implement this, right? That is what is needed. But none of these.
But Mr. McMahon, with all due respect, I've heard people go in. For instance, let's use the integrity in public life thing. We've heard in one government regime that they implement this up to a certain stage, and then we're kind of feeling good, like, okay, the second and the third and whatever steps are going to be, and there's nothing. Then the government changed. Then you hear, oh, well, we're about good governance and integrity and blah, blah, blah. And then you hear something about some other stage has been implemented. And then nothing happens. And another government is going to come. So it's all well and good to say you have in your manifesto a million things, but it's to implement them. They can be there, and yet still you don't do a thing about them.
Well, so you're thinking that protests on the streets is going to make them implement them?
No, I didn't go along the vein of protesting. For me, protest has its merit whenever the people feel that they should protest. I can't say when and where. I'm speaking only to the fact that you're saying
reality
that there should be a recall, and I'm saying I agree with you, but who's going to implement it?
Yeah.
None of them will.
And that's a key question because around here you get the impression. You ever notice that it's almost like we have a deep state operating here, where regardless of elections, the same people recycle into the same positions.
Yeah.
And there is like a government within a government, and you really don't know. That is why they cannot operate with openness
and as you've stated,
and transparency.
And as you've stated, they're all the same. They're like, because for instance, let me give you this scenario. Let's say I would never get involved in politics, but let's say I were to get involved in politics. I'm the kind of person who would want to implement that recall, right? So when I get in government, I would do that, right? But then what happens to the government who comes after me and the one who comes after? You understand what I'm saying? You have to have genuine...
No. You're making this legal, you go into parliament and you make it a law.
But that's what I'm saying. You make things legal. So how many things are legal and on the books and they're not? Okay, for instance, you see. Let's use when Denzel Douglas was in and he had the vote of no confidence. You understand what happened with that? Mm-hmm. That is what I'm saying.
But you can make things. You can close loopholes though. That's the whole point.
But you have to have people
that is one of the criticisms against the current government, where they're saying that we have operationalized freedom of information and integrity.
That is what I'm saying.
But they make it difficult for people to get the kind of answers and so on that you have. And they think they're pretty smart with it.
So here's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. We need certain things. But what I'm saying is this. You might find that we say this would be good so that we can recall politicians who don't perform. But when politicians go in, let's take it on a wider society basis. Mr. McMahon, there are very few people in life who want you to even critique them.
Yep.
Okay, understandable.
Yeah. So if it is as simple as that, imagine I don't even want you to critique me. So I want you to say I didn't perform good and remove me. So it's going to take genuine...
No, but it can also go the other way, Quinn, because basically what you're saying is that nobody exists who can go in and really make a difference. And I don't think it's as bad as that, right?
But
So you
I
can,
think
because you can have somebody who go in there and really try to make a difference, and the people recognize it and give them a good grade, right? No?
Mr. McMahon, let's be realistic. I'm a realist, right? And that is why I use myself as an example. But in all honesty, this is why the world is the way it is, because you have leaders who they don't want to be. They could be doing the worst things, and you can't tell. Let's use the Antigua man, the Antigua leader, and Social Security, and you see what his rebuttal is. He moves completely away from the issue, and he goes on another tangent that has nothing completely to do with it. That is what people do. So how do we stop that? We can't. That's
we certainly don't. We certainly can't stop it if we just keep the same kind of people in power.
Well, you're right.
Get them to vote. If you don't like you see something as leering as that, you mean to tell me you can go back and vote for somebody like that?
And back to your point. You made that statement before, and I wanted to carry it a little bit further. I remember saying one might be surprised to something that I remember saying we're going to wrap up right now. I remember saying one might be surprised. Look, the world is this way, Mr. McMahon. Some of the people who are in opposition who you're hearing saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, blah, 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 most likely they won't. But you might find somebody who comes along who's very mild, not too outspoken, not dramatic, not this and that, and you might be very surprised that that person goes in and you have a about turn in the whole system. That's the way the world goes. But how are we and when is that person going to come? Those people are few and far between.
Okay. I'm not as disillusioned as that. I feel
I'm
that
not disillusioned. I'm being realistic. I'm not disillusioned.
Well, no, but I feel there are people out there who would really try to do better and not go in there saying, boy, this is how politics work, and succumb to the politics as usual or business as usual.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that somebody out there can make a difference. It's just for us to find
I don't
them,
disagree with you. Anyway, we're going to wrap up. I don't disagree with you, but maybe those people aren't interested in politics.
Yeah, they're interested in their integrity, their livelihood, and being peaceful.
I agree. There are people out there who have morals and would do the right thing, but somehow they are, because maybe politics turn them off the way how it's going.
Okay, Carton.
We have to wrap up now, so be brief.
Carton here for MT.
Mm-hmm.
MP, how about that?
Not me. I want to remain on the Jesus side of life. Not
And Quint, you're going to say the same thing.
Definitely not.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Because let me show you. I can go in with all good intention, but I'm only one person.
Exactly.
I have 5 others who make up the government, or 6, and they might be on a complete different tangent. How much? What?
And caller, I might be the one and Quint to get the vote of no confidence.
You understand?
We're going to be fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Take care.
Have a good one.
We know for sure that you'd have to get in there first. Though.
Yeah, but I ain't going in there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Found